it doesn't matter what you're working on, whether it's irritable bowel, weight loss, fears and phobias, sexual dysfunction. What else have I had lately? I've had suicide people. Doesn't matter what it is. I say to people come in and go, hey, how are you feeling? Da, 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 da. Just get a bit of rapport. And then I just say to them, what I do today is I'm going to be working on memories and things, what's going on in your mind. So what I'm going to do is get you to just start talking right from the beginning. And whenever I see something come up, I'm going to stop you instantly and we're going to shift that. That's all the info. I said, I'm not being rude, but I'm just going to cut in and stop sensations when they come up. And then I just say, so, if it's weight loss, so tell me what you were like from the start. Or so I'll get them to kind of go back and it just starts the conversation. Once the conversation starts, they'll be talking. And then a feeling presents itself, or a sensation. And when it presents itself, you'll notice, and you just notice, someone gets emotional. The eyes change. They start to get a bit anxious. You might see them start poking their fingers, it's just that thing that happens when people are talking about something and the energy shifts. And right, that this is loaded. There's energy, unresolved energy here. You can see it. And so the minute you can see that, you don't let them finish their sentence. And I have people, wait, I haven't finished. And I'm like, no, just close your eyes. You can finish it later. I'm really strict about that, because if they finish the sentence, the feeling might go away. And if the feeling goes away, it might never come back again. And then I've lost my chance to shift what needs to be shifted. So that's why I'm big on honoring the subconscious. When that feeling comes up, do it. And if I'm having a pre-consult with someone and a feeling comes up and I'm on Zoom or in person, or if I'm in the street, or if I'm at the hairdressers, or if I'm in the supermarket, doesn't matter where I am, if someone's having a conversation with me and a feeling comes up, I'll go quickly, do you want to shift this? Even to strangers, because I know my job here is to teach this and my job here is to clear stuff for people. And you'll find the same way. I have students going, oh my God, I ended up doing, a lady the other day did it at the checkout. She's at the checkout. She's, and Vicky did it too, slammed a shop counter person. She did symbols. But you kind of get to the point where you just can't not, but you always ask permission. Do you want to shift that? Yeah, close your eyes. Where do you go back? So the feeling comes into the room. It's close your eyes. Where do you feel it in your body? And you do kind of want to get out of the head and into the body, But if they said it's a tingly sensation in my third eye, yeah, okay, you've got a sensation there that's not the usual thoughts. If they're getting a bit stuck by what you mean, you say some people feel it in their stomach, some people feel it in their heart or their chest. Where do you feel it? And they'll understand what you mean. Once you have it, you want it pinpointed. Sometimes you do get it's all over and it's buzzing. And for me, yep, sweet, we'll just go back and follow that or pull it out. Sometimes I do pulling out when it's all over. But usually we can target it, pinpoint it pretty good when they're in there. So once they've pinpointed it, make a decision whether to make it bigger or not. And by making it bigger, it's, I just want you really focusing on that feeling as I count 1 to 5 with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now imagine there's a golden thread, attach that feeling and go back. It needs to be quick, it needs to be fast. The reason why I call it slamming is because there ain't no nicey nice. If you do any form of relaxation, if you put on a hypno conversation, if you go, hey, now follow that, it's not going to work because you'll get the frontal lobe to kick in. You've got to get in and you've got to be rough with this one. You've got to just get in. That's why I call it slamming it. Get in and get out. So for you have to be quite dominant and do it to catch that emotion, to catch that feeling. Other than that, yeah, you'll be floating in different kind of memories. So once you've gone back to the first time, when the implicit memory is strong, they'll go back straight away. When it's not so strong, it might take a little bit. Some people process quicker than others. So just because they're going back slower doesn't mean they're not going anywhere. So if they're going a little bit slower, I'll say again, all the way back to the first time, younger and younger. I'll say something like that just because it's that awkward silence that I don't like. Remember, if people are struggling, just do symbols. Just go, okay, hang on a minute. What I want you to do is pull that feeling out and tell me what it looks like. Because what we don't want is that frontal lobe to kick in and interfere with what we're doing. So it's better just to, if it's going to be hard, the GT, it's better just to pull it out and get it out that way. And I am going to teach you symbols, golden thread styles. You guys have done basic symbols. I will teach you the more stuff like bringing in the age of the child when we're doing to hold the symbol and stuff. So we'll go on to GT style symbols, if that makes sense.
That'd be good, because when I did this the other week with a friend, she just burst into tears and she was crying, and it's quite hard to be quite.
yeah. So so that's when you pull the feeling out. But it's good that crying is a release. You will always get tears when the memory shifts.
Right.
Whether it's one little tear or tears, and it depends on how well you know the person and how comfortable they feel. They will, you will get tears. So once you've got taken them back, you're going to get them into the scene, and you're going to ask, how old are you in the scene? And just in a few words, what's causing the feeling. You don't want any more than that. That's it. Because we don't care what the scene is. The scene is not important. All that's important is shifting that memory and shifting the energy off. So it's not our space to go through the scene and explore and find out, because you'll lose it. So we're not doing this we're not exploring to see why the person is messed up. We're just shifting the energy off the scene. Okay, so that's really important, because when you do explore and ask more questions, especially if it's trauma, you're going to get stuck. And we are doing trauma work. You are going to bring up stuff you don't want to. So when you go into the scene, they give their younger self a hug and say that they're there for them. Now, we know with that, like I said to you yesterday about that research into PTSD, that they said that only 20% of people that go through extreme trauma get PTSD. And they found out now that the one way to not get PTSD is to have someone there for you, not saying anything, but just sitting there with you when a trauma happens. It's the people that don't tell anyone that tend to get PTSD. So I can see why, because we are shifting a memory. We're shifting and changing a memory. So their memory is plastic, basically. It can be molded. We're changing that memory. So in that memory, they didn't have love and support. Now they do have love and support. And sometimes that's enough even to shift the feeling straight away. So from there, what does the younger you need to know to clear this feeling? And that is a little bit of NLP language. You'll notice that if you've done timeline and stuff, but it's done in a different way. So you're down in the scene with the child, and you're asking them what the child needs to hear in that moment that they didn't understand. What is it that you didn't understand in that moment? And we know the reason is that memory got stuck because the emotional resources weren't there. So what was that one resource that kid didn't know to get that memory stuck? And it's not your fault. They're a dickhead, and you can say that. And you never, ever, ever tell the person in golden thread what they need to say unless they got super stuck. It's got to come from the client, and it's got to be age appropriate. So if they are talking to a 5-year-old, they're talking to a 5-year-old. I said this yesterday. You're not going to talk about your future life ahead of you and how the angels have your back and all of this kind of stuff if a 5-year-old had its lollies taken. Do you know what I mean? It will literally be, it's all right, you're going to have more lollies. Here's some lollies now. Emotion goes. Dad's gone. And they'll say, oh, you are going to see dad again. So it's just convincing the kid type thing, but it's got to be age appropriate. Every time they say something, you repeat it and ask, how's the feeling now? So if they say, well, they need to know that they're loved, I'll be like, so tell them that they're loved. And they tell them, okay, so how are they feeling now? How's that feeling? Is it there or has it gone? It's gone. Or it's still there. Okay, so what else do they need to know? Well, they need to know it's not their fault. Okay, so tell them that it's not their fault. how do they feel? What's happened to that feeling? Because we don't need to go on for ages. We just want to shift that feeling. If you get a bit stuck and you can't shift it, either do symbols, pull it out, get rid of it out of the kid, that kind of thing. You don't stay there too long. And then once it's out of the kid, you bring them up out of the scene. Now, this is when a memory goes past out of the limbic system, it goes to getting processed, time-stamped. The time-stamping is done, I think, in the left frontal lobe, as far as I remember, this part of the brain. And that's when integration happens. The brain takes that part that's fractured, they call it, or soul loss, or, a dissociated part. It gets integrated through time stamping. So when we pull them up out of the scene and put them into their heart, it's actually about reintegration. That part doesn't exist anymore, including all the behaviors that part had. It's become now the adult. Okay. And I usually say, now wash that scene away because you are not 8 anymore. And you'll hear me do it when you watch the demos. Watch the demos and watch the demos and watch the demos, because you'll really get it in your head, because you're not 8 anymore. And then from up above, yeah.
Can I ask a question? Do you need to hear what they're saying to the younger self?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, because so sometimes they just say it quietly.
Yeah, no, just say it out loud. Every once in a while. If it's, if they're being really secretive, that's when I'd ask, is the child safe?
Right. Okay.
And if it's no, bring them up out of the scene and do the work from above and wash the scene away.
Right.
But yeah, you do need to have that conversation.
Okay.
They do need to say it out loud.
Okay.
And because we need to feed off it as well to know when the feeling shift.
Okay.
Because the whole goal is, it's not the memory itself, it's has the feeling gone. Feeling gone.
Okay. I think that she didn't want to tell me what she was saying because she was crying and she didn't want to.
Yeah, and as long as the feeling was gone, the work is done. Is the sensation still there? No, it's got done. If a person, I was saying this to Noah yesterday, and this is why our job is so cool. If the sensation is there at the start when they think about something, and then at the end of it, when they think about that thing, that sensation is not there, the work is done. Because the brain just doesn't give up a trigger. It doesn't just go, oh, something's safe, something's not safe, unless it's deemed it is not safe or safe. Do you know what I mean? So it's a true test. We get to have that test there and then, which is really neat. So once they're up above, that's when you test again to make sure it's out of the adult. 9 times out of 10 or 99% of the time it's out of the adult. And if it isn't, if there's a little bit left, it's usually related to now. I would just do symbols and pull the feeling out and get rid of the last little bit. It just makes it so easy, and then once the feeling's cleared, go on to the future. So yeah, we go on to the future and ask them what's different about them now that the feeling's gone. What's different about you? And this is where it gets exciting, because they come up with lots and lots of different things. So they'll say lots of things that are unrelated. And from there, because we're not in GT anymore, when we're in the future, we're just bringing in a positive emotion. You can anchor the feeling there. If it's a really good feeling, only anchor really good feelings. If they just feel lighter and free, don't worry so much. You can do anchoring later on in the session. But yeah, just you can make that a good experience. Once the feeling is out of the child and out of the adult, we're not in GT land anymore. Right? So if you wanted to go from there and just go into a really nice hypno session from there, you can, as long as you've tested the feeling. If the sensation is gone, then you can go into the future and take them to their goals and blah, 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 like we do in hypnosis. Do you know what I mean? So the GT land is just the feeling, sensation comes up, we've triggered a memory. We've got to get that memory out of their body. Done. Okay. So the script, let's go through the script. The quicker, like I always say, the quicker you can get off the script, the more you can be. Because as you know, if you're reading a script, it's quite hard to have that oomph or that energy to it. It'll be more like, close your eyes. Where do you feel it in your body? Just like a dial, turn it up. You know what I mean? It's a bit different to close your eyes. Where do you feel it in your body? Turn that feeling up and go back. You know, the energy is quite different. So the script is there for you to start out. And then once you kind of get the gist of it, ditch it and use your own words, knowing, understanding. It's the same with symbols. You can get really hung up on the script and doing it right. But then one day you realize, shit, that I'm making it really hard on myself. All I need to do is, where do you feel it in the body? Pull it out, change it. Or throw it away, bring a light in, you know. So the quicker you can see this as, okay, she's had to write something down to give us a guide, but I get this. I know I get this. You know, I know I'm fine. As long as I get that feeling out of the body, I'm fine. So never leave with the feeling in the body, no matter what. And that's what symbols is good for. Get creative like you did, Nora. Do bring in a bloody vacuum cleaner or whatever. Do whatever you got to do to get the feeling to go. And that's why it's not so much an easy, basic, beginner type thing. And that's why GT is in the advanced for a reason. But even symbols is, you've still got to get a little bit creative sometimes to get feelings to shift, or a bit more hypnotic and forceful. So you just got to do whatever you got to do. Okay. So in this one, it's like, close your eyes, really feel it in your body, turn it up. 1 through 5, just quite quick. Imagine it's got a golden thread going all the way back to the first time you felt the feeling. That shouldn't say that twice. Drift into the scene. How old are you? Just in a few words. What's giving the feeling? Now, I'd like you to imagine that the you now drifts into the scene. So you've got this double dissociation. It's a child now and the person. Give them a hug. What do they need to know to get the feeling go? Always testing it. Check that they're feeling. Now, once you see if the feeling is still in the 4-year-old self, bring them up out of the scene, putting them into the heart, washing the scene away, drifting into the past because you're not 4 anymore. I always say little funny things like, I said this yesterday, because the 4-year-old is with you now, you might find colors are brighter and you might have more energy. Hypnotic language. Now I want you to see if you can bring the feeling up that we started with. Is it there or is it gone? Just do symbols here. I'll change that. If there's still a little bit left, I will just symbol it. Now that you're free of this feeling, drift into the future. You don't have to say 6 months from now. You can say whenever you want. Let me know what's different about you now that the feeling's gone. With all these feelings, come back into the room, back into chair, open your eyes. And once your eyes are open, you've got to test again, not with the eyes closed. You've got to say, now what's happened to that feeling? Because they've got to not feel it with their eyes open.